I'm glad Ryan Day spent a lot of time focusing on the defense during the bye week.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day here on Tuesday, October 22nd in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Avoiding chaos at Columbus and Buckeyes injuries fired their way in today's show, as well as Ohio State's defense that needs to improve the next time they're on the field. And during the bye week, Ryan Day said he spent a lot of time with the defense and trying to find ways that the unit can get better. From up front on the interior of the D-line to the edge rushers as well, to the linebackers and everybody in the secondary, everybody on Ohio State's defense can improve. Also the coaching too. We put a lot of emphasis on the players, but the coaches need to improve as well. I've talked a lot more about James Laurinaitis recently over the past couple weeks because it surely seems like the linebackers are still the weakest link on the defense. But Ryan Day during the bye week spending a lot of time with the defense is great. That's cool. That's huge. I'm here for it. We just got to see results. That's the biggest thing to me. I don't care if Ryan Day or Jim Knowles or whoever is spending a lot more time on the defense, finding issues and talking about the issues and trying to find ways to fix said issues. That's all great. We need to see results. That's not just me. The team wants to see results as well. We need to see results from Ohio State's defense against Nebraska, who just got the brakes beat off of them by Indiana. So we all know that Nebraska's defense is not what we thought Nebraska's defense was earlier in the season. But also, the week after, you got Penn State. In the last four games of the year, Northwestern, Indiana, Purdue, and Michigan. I don't know if that's the correct order of the final four games, but those are the teams Ohio State's playing. And what do we know about this team right now? The defense has to get better, and the Penn State game is going to be a test. Drew Aller has played a lot better this year than I thought. Oh, before you get to Drew Aller, you can't view Nebraska as a look-ahead game. Even though they got embarrassed on Saturday in Bloomington, Indiana, that does not mean they're not going to come to Columbus and just lay down for them as well. That's a team that is hungry, that is striving for another win, another win, another win. They also have a talented true freshman quarterback in Dylan Raiola who wants to come into Columbus to show everybody, I know that I was once an Ohio State commit. I know I decommitted. I went to Nebraska where the family ties were, and I made the right decision. This is Dylan Raiola speaking now. He wants to come into Ohio State and say, I made the right decision. Well, Ohio State's defense needs to be able to step up and show off all of the things that they have been working on. But if the Buckeyes don't get results, y'all, there's a problem. There's a massive problem because this defense is way too talented. Even if everybody on the defense has showed you what they are and that's who they are, they're not getting any better. That's great. That's cool. Not complaining about that. But if they show you who they are and we believe that what the unit is playing like right now is not the unit's potential, then meet said potential and show that off on Saturday afternoon. It's a 12 noon kick against Nebraska. It's a 12 noon kick the following week against Penn State on the road in Happy Valley. Show off, man. Show everybody you're Ohio State. Show everybody you've been working. Show everybody and their mama that what we saw against Oregon, that was just one game. That was the final week of play like that. Show everybody that. But if you're going to roll into the shoe on Saturday and not show the improvement and Dylan Raiola gets some things off, Nebraska may lose, but we may come on here on the postcast on Saturday afternoon or on Monday show and talk about, man, the Buckeyes defense. Ryan Day spent time with that unit. Ryan Day said we were focusing on things, and all of a sudden they're not showing the things that we need to see. That will be a problem. And that will not just be a problem for me being a host of this show, but for the team as a whole. Because this is a natty or bust year. Don't believe I have heard Ohio State ever use the phrase natty or bust as often as it did during the offseason from Denzel Burke and other players that were echoing his statement that he made first, natty or bust, natty or bust. We all know the expectations. We don't say them, the team says them, and then we echo what they say. Beat Michigan, win the conference, win the national championship. Those are the three goals every single year. Ohio State hasn't accomplished their first goal since 2019. We believe it would have happened in 2020, but there was no game. Haven't accomplished goal number 2 since 2020. And now winning a national championship in Ryan Day's first 6 years of being a head coach ever in the sport, it's not like that should be expected. That should be expected. The fact that Jim Tressel came into Ohio State and Urban Meyer came into Ohio State and won national championships so quickly, that's unheard of. I think Tressel won one in year 2. I believe that Urban Meyer won one in year number 3. That's unheard of, man. Like, that's literally odd. Tressel came in, but Tressel had success at Youngstown State, winning national championships. Urban won multiple rings down there in Gainesville. So they already had a track record of success. The fact that, one, Ryan Day is being held to a high standard. I mean, he's put it on himself. He's talking about these things as well. But also Urban Meyer has kind of impacted that. Nick Saban has kind of impacted that. Kirby Smart getting back-to-back rings has impacted that. Dabo Swinney and what he's done at Clemson has impacted that. So there's a lot of things and factors that have impacted that from outside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center and from inside the Woody as well. So there's outside forces, there's inside forces that are impacting Ohio State and how they're viewed right now. But also, let's forget the outside noise. Let's focus on the inside noise and what we see on the field. The defense, I didn't think would be the problem at all this year. I believe coming into this year, the defense was never going to be the problem. The defense is going to be just fine. But what we can find right now is interior of the D-line, got some issues. Pass rush, it's not consistent. Linebackers, still the weakest link. Corners, good in some areas, not good in others. Safeties, 2 of the best in the country. Really don't have any issues at all. But does Ohio State need to do different things with Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom? Do you have to move Hancock around a little bit? What do we have to figure out? These are things that Ryan Day is working on right now during the offseason, during the bye week. The fact that Ohio State had 2 bye weeks this year is huge. It's very, very rare. I don't remember a time period recently where Ohio State had 2 off weeks with just the way the calendar fell this year. That's cool. But ultimately, this is great for Ohio State, honestly. It's a huge benefit for them to have multiple bye weeks because you had the improvement week, as I called it earlier, and some parts of the improved, some parts did not. Now you have a bye week, as I'm going to call it. And what is it? It's another time for Ohio State to improve. This is a time for Ohio State's defense to improve in every area. Interior of the D-line, edge rushers, whatever spot it is on the defense, this is the time of year that every part of the unit can improve. You got 6 games that have been played. You got a lot of film on this unit already. And what do we know? This unit is talented, but we believe it can play better. But now is the time for that unit to play better. Go out there against Nebraska. Go to Happy Valley the following week. Finish the season strong and get better and better week after week after week. So let's just say there's a rematch with Oregon in the Big Ten Championship game. You're ready to play better ball than you have played previously this year because we all know offense is great, but defense wins championships. And if Ohio State wants to win the Natty, the defense has to get better. Also, if Ohio State wants to win the Natty, they need everybody to be as healthy as possible. And as it sits right now, the Buckeyes might be hit by the injury bug a little bit harder than we thought they were before the bye week. This episode is brought to you by Roy. Hey, Ohio State fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pulled over $20,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, I'm supporting Illinois' Luke Altmaier because in Illinois' win over Michigan, Altmaier scored more points himself than Michigan's entire team. And I love anytime a team beats Michigan and one guy outscores Michigan's entire football team. I just pitched in $100, and I love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Luke Altmaier some love. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter referral code Locked On. And you're entered. Already on Roy? Any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy now and join the NIL game with no subscriptions and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return on you for more info. Roy, support the players, change the game. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more, and the best service in Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and even backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. They are family-owned and operated, and when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you're talking to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus. Visit their showroom on Dublin Central Drive in Dublin. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Ohio State's team right now got hit with the injury bug a little bit prior to the game against Oregon and during that game against Oregon. Josh Simmons is believed to be out for the entire year, suffered an injury in that Oregon game. Will Kacmerak got hurt during that game as well. Quinshon Judkins had, we believe, is a hurt hand leading up to the game against Oregon. He played. It was his worst game as a Buckeye. He underwent a procedure, but it is believed that he will not miss any time. And now there are more rumors of more injuries. The latest is that Lathan Ransom is battling an injury, and Ryan Day says everybody that's battling something right now is day-to-day. Not ruling anybody out, is keeping everything close to the vest, doing what college coaches do all over the country, but everyone's day-to-day. And if Ohio State keeps battling injuries in the secondary, let's focus on Lathan Ransom first. If there's an injury to Lathan Ransom, there are some solutions that Ohio State has to play with. Now, an offensive line and a tight end. At tight end, you kind of got a line of guys. On the offensive line, you can shake some things up, but things get a little more shaky and uneasy when it comes to injuries on the offensive line, especially to your best offensive lineman. But Ohio State's talented. Outside offensive line, I think injuries to other positions, you might be fine. Now with the running back, and you got Quinshon Judkins, it's a heavier workload potentially for Trevion Henderson, and we talked about that on yesterday's show. If you missed it, go back and tap into that. It was a pretty good one. And you also have, I mean, if Kacmerak isn't there, G. Scott Jr. has been the starter. Bennett Christian, is he the next guy up? I believe that he would be and be more of a traditional primary blocking tight end that he could be. Jelani Thurman, he may get some more play as well. I believe Max LeBlanc lost his black stripe over the past couple of weeks. So that's another guy that, hey, Kacmerak is hurt. You've proven yourself to be a Buckeye here. Let's lose your black stripe right now. So those are some options there. Zen Mahalski at left tackle did good in that game against Oregon. I think he graded around 80%, which is way better than you would think a backup would perform during that environment where you just thrust into that hostile environment there in prime time. But Ransom potentially being out is a dagger, man. It's a tough one. Just if you're a fan of Lathan Ransom, you follow his career. Remember him, I believe, in the Rose Bowl, breaking his leg. I think he played against Alabama in the Natty as well as a true freshman. So you got him to play against Bama, the true freshman. The following year in the Rose Bowl, he hurt his leg. I believe that was on his special teams play as well. It wasn't even on defense, just a special teams play. He hurt his leg. Ended up not missing a game in 2022. He got hurt again last year. So you're talking about a guy that this could be injury number 3 or number 4. If it's major, that's something that the NFL analysts and scouts, executives are going to be looking at and saying, he's really talented. Lathan Ransom can come in and play ball for us right now, but how long will he potentially play ball for us? That is something that I think they're going to be watching for him. But if Ransom's not able to play, here's my first thought. You got Downs at free safety. I'm going to put some things here on my notebook just to keep me intact. You got Jordan Hancock at your nickel corner. You could easily move Hancock back to strong safety, cross him out, and bring in Jermaine Matthews Jr. Cool. So you're keeping a starter on the field, and you're replacing him not with Sonny Styles in the nickel spot, replacing him with a guy that's a corner that's a really good backup corner, we all believe, that can play nickel corner or outside corner. Okay, let's say you want to put Hancock back there, but you want to put Lorenzo Styles at the nickel. Cool. So what are you doing? You're still putting the emphasis on stopping the pass, which is what the defense is based on. It's not a nickel guy or a cover safety that's more of a linebacker. It's a cover safety that's truly a safety slash corner hybrid, which is what you want in that spot. But Ohio State also has the possibility of, and I don't think this is the most likely one, move Sonny Styles out, put Hancock back where Ransom was, and put in Arvell Reese. That is the least likely option, but ultimately I think Arvell Reese needs to play more, and Sonny Styles can stay on the field as long as he wants to. I have no problem with that. He needs more reps at linebacker, and the only way to get better is to play linebacker. So I think Sonny Styles is fine. But you got to find a way to get Arvell Reese on the field. The good thing, I believe, about this situation is Arvell Reese has already showed he can play ball. Like, he's a good player out there for Ohio State. And at linebacker, only played 2 plays a couple weeks ago against Oregon, which I thought was a little odd because I thought he should have played more. But if there's injuries there and they need to shuffle guys around, play him. Like, you don't have to shuffle guys around to play him anyway. Just play him. He has already showed you he is good enough. He gets the job done. He understands the assignment. He's getting better on the fly. Play the man. Just play him. That's kind of my motto right now is once a guy shows me he has the goods to play him. Unlike my favorite NFL team, the Indianapolis Colts, that keep trying to ride with Anthony Richardson, as he's already showed you he can't be that kind of passer in the NFL right now. And if the Colts are in a win-now mode, which they should be, play the guy that helps you win now in Joe Flacco. And for Ohio State, if Ohio State's in a win-now mode, which they are, and if Ransom's not able to go, I don't care what the combination is, but play the combination that tells everybody that Ohio State is truly in win-now mode, because that's what they should be in. Ain't no way. It ain't the time to waste no time. No, you're here to win now. And so when you're here to win now, what do? You make moves to win. That's how I see it. I believe that's how you see it too. Ohio State must make moves to win with everyone healthy or if some players are injured. Now, my hope, Judkins missed no time and he's fine. My hope is, even though Simmons may be out, Zimahowski is the guy at left tackle and he's fine. We're not having to shuffle that thing around week after week after week. Over there on defense, I hope Ransom's fine, but if he's out, the Buckeyes are blessed with numerous DBs that can fill his spot. Play the guys that help you win now, because winning now is a goal. You play to win the game, as Herm Edwards said, and I believe that wholeheartedly. You play to win the game, and Ohio State must play and must coach to win the game and to win those games now, not down the road, but to win them now. And if Ohio State does happen to win now, they're going to avoid potential chaos in Columbus. But what happens if the Buckeyes struggle down the stretch? Chaos might come to Columbus, Ohio. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Once again, this is too good to not say twice. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All the action goes down at FanDuel.com. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. One thing none of us want is for chaos to come to Columbus, Ohio, and for it to be centered right there at Ohio State's practice facility. This team is talented. This team is really good. Ryan Day has done a lot of winning in this sport. But something tells me that there might be chaos coming to Columbus, Ohio. I don't think it's the likely option, but it is an option. Because what's on the table right now for Ohio State? Let's just say that Ohio State does beat Michigan down the road. But all of a sudden, it's a rematch with Oregon in the Big Ten Championship. And just like what happened last year, Oregon ended up losing to Washington twice. What happens this year is the winner of this Big Ten conference beats a really good team twice. Let's say Oregon does beat Ohio State twice this year. It's not a good look, man. It's not a good look at all. And then Ryan Day goes into the playoff, and I do believe he will still make the playoff, assuming it makes the conference championship. He's going to be in the playoff. The Buckeyes may or may not host a playoff game, and so you're looking at a different situation there. And let's just say this year's playoffs go the way that most of Ryan Day's time in the playoffs has gone, and that's with not making a trip to the national championship. Chaos is going to come in. Absolutely, chaos is going to come in. I am not saying that Ryan Day has to win the Natty this year to keep his job. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if you beat Michigan, you don't win the conference, especially to a newcomer. Like, let's just say that Duck comes into Lucas Oil Stadium, and the Duck and Brutus kind of go back and forth, but all of a sudden, the Duck ultimately wins. How does that look for Ohio State? Because you're the Block O. You are the big dog. You are the team that everybody in the preseason said, hey, it's Ohio State. $20 million roster, allegedly. A roster that's full of talent that could have gone to the NFL, but they decided to stay in Columbus. That's cool. Got a really good head coach. He wins most of his games. That's also cool. But all of a sudden, man, it's the same old song and dance. A little feeling of deja vu. Things don't sit well with you. Things don't sit well with me. And what are we talking about with Ohio State? There being chaos in Columbus. And if chaos comes to Columbus, Ohio, you might pull your hair out. You might not have a lot of hair. You may have the same amount of hair that I have. But what are you going to do? Try to pull your hair out of frustration, because this was a year. This was a year everything was supposed to go right for Ohio State. And all of a sudden, they didn't push all the right buttons. They didn't put players in the right position to be successful. They were messing up situational play calling. Once again, Jim Knowles' defense gives up a lot of plays in a big game, and we're talking about the same old thing once again. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be up here on a Monday or a Tuesday or after a game late in the evening in the playoffs saying, oh, man, I know this feeling. I know going into this game, they had a chance to win. They got the goods. They had the players to win. But we just don't trust Ryan Day, man. We just don't trust so-and-so. We just don't trust so-and-so. And that's going to hurt recruiting. Because with Oregon, and even if you take Phil Knight out of it, let's just say it's just stuff on the field that dictates recruiting. If I'm a young recruit and I saw what Dan Lanning did, they get some phenomenal coaching decisions. Team was well prepared. Defense was fast. Sideline speed was insane. They're physical. They beat Ohio State in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Man, that really entices me to go out to Oregon. What's in Oregon? A really good football team. I'm not even trying to say like those shade at them. No, Oregon is a really good football team. But it's a football team that Ohio State's supposed to beat. And if we are on here in January talking about chaos in Columbus, it's going to be centered around Ryan Day. And Ryan Day's time at Ohio State, it could be up. I don't want Ryan Day to leave. I don't want anyone to lose their job. I have been fired before. Y'all, it's not a good feeling. Nobody wants to be fired, but sometimes that may be the best move for business. And if that's the best move for business, think about how tough it's going to be for a new coach to come into Columbus after Ryan Day, after what Ryan Day did, after what Ryan Day accomplished, and people saying he's not the guy. The luxury could be that it could be a similar situation to the Golden State Warriors with Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr. The difference was Mark Jackson never took the Warriors to the NBA Finals, but Mark Jackson kind of hit his ceiling, kind of was capping out, couldn't get any further. Next thing you know, Steve Kerr comes in, and I don't know if Steve Kerr is the best X's and O's coach, but I know he had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and KD and Draymond Green and Harrison Barnes and Zaza Pachulia and all these guys. Andrew Wiggins. I think Wiggins was on a Warriors team that won a ring. You got all of these guys, man. You got Andre Iguodala. I still can't believe Iggy won an NBA Finals MVP. I still can't believe that at all. That's still one of the most mind-boggling things that has ever happened in a sport, that Andre Iguodala was the NBA Finals MVP. Make that make sense. You can't. You can't at all. Go back and watch that series. You're going to be like, well, I mean, it was good, but really, was the NBA Finals MVP good? I truly don't think so. What I do think should happen, though, for Ohio State this year, and I'm not saying they're going to win the Natty. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a way that Ohio State can avoid chaos in the offseason. And after what we saw against Oregon, I think chaos might be right around the corner. You know, that hurricane that just hit Florida, that was right around the corner. It was picking up steam, and winds were expected about over 100 miles per hour, and people were evacuating. And I had friends down there. I had family down there. Like, I know some people stayed, some left, some were on the coast. And my friend's dad decided to stay down there in the Clearwater area. And I'm like, hey, man, or he might actually live in Tampa. Okay, like, hey, more power to you, but I think you should leave. I heard somebody on local radio in Indianapolis say his sister's down there in Florida, and their family decided to stay. And he would have been like, hey, get out. Get out. We all seen that movie. Get out, because it's not a place you want to be. I do believe that sometimes chaos can come, man. And when chaos comes, it comes knocking hard. But Ohio State's good enough to avoid chaos right now. But it comes down to one big thing. The easiest way for Ohio State to avoid chaos in Columbus is for Ryan Day to make some necessary changes. Change how things go in big games. Change things situationally. Don't wait to see stuff on film in a season to be prepared for certain things, because this is what great coaches do. They have you prepared for the most odd circumstances that you may ever encounter, because that might happen on that day. Indiana down the road will do some things that Ohio State hasn't seen before. Penn State will do things Ohio State has never seen before. Northwestern will try some things to trick you up. Michigan's going to try anything in their power to beat Ohio State on that day. No matter what it is, Ryan Day must be prepared for the unthinkable. Because when you're prepared for that, you're preparing your team for success. You're preparing your team for battle, and you're preparing your team to make a deep playoff run, which is what this team should do this year. And ultimately, this team is good enough to win a national championship. And by doing that, that's a good way to avoid chaos here in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you all for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Craig Sheeman puts the Big Ten first. When everyone else overlooks it, find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.